But first, we want to delve into the new COVID relief law. And we get two views, starting with the Senate's top Republican, Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, thank you very much for joining us. The bill President Biden signed today, you have said it's the worst piece of legislation you've seen pass in your time in the Senate. And yet it helps working class Americans. There is support in it for the unemployed. There is support for healthcare workers and for schools. And the polls are showing 70% of Americans like it. Why are they wrong?
Well, look, I'm not surprised that the American public's initial reaction to this, before they know what's in it, would be positive. I mean, the thought of many Americans getting a $1,400 check, why would they not like that? But let's look at the history of the pandemic, which really started about a year ago. We passed 5 bills last year, Judy, 5 of them, the biggest one being the CARES Act, on a bipartisan basis. Not a single one of them got more than 8 votes in opposition. We just 2 months ago passed one of those 5, $900 billion. It's not even out the door yet. And yet the new administration wants to go back as if nothing has happened in the last year and do another bill that the president will sign today, the size of the bill we did a year ago at the height of the epidemic. So I understand why the American people's initial response to this is positive. What they do not know is how much of the bill has nothing to do with the pandemic. Less than 1% of it deals with vaccinations. Only about 9% of it deals with health care. All the rest of it is unrelated to the problem it's designed to address.
Well, Senator, the administration has been candid to say the bill is about the economy. They point out tens of millions of Americans are still unemployed. They say that this bill would take something like 13 million Americans, lift them out of poverty, reduce child poverty in half. Are you saying you oppose those things?
What I'm saying is the economy is about to come roaring back. What the administration is trying to do here, Judy, is to get in front of the parade so they can take credit for what's already happening based upon what we've already done. The economy is just going to have a fabulous year. It has nothing to do with this massive Democratic wish list of items that their various constituencies want.
Well, the administration, Senator, says they are aware of the projections about the economy, but they still believe that these are necessary to help people who are the most in need in this country. And when it comes to the debt, we know you mentioned future generations paying for this. Under President Trump, the debt was something like $8 trillion almost. So you're not saying that's something that's only okay under a Republican president, are you?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that last year it was clearly justified based upon the pandemic. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been passed overwhelmingly on a bipartisan basis. But what they're trying to do this year, it's noteworthy, received not a single Republican vote in the House or Senate. You have to ask yourself, why? Why? Because this year is not last year. The economy is on the way back. This is going to be a great year for the American people. New jobs are going to lift people out of poverty. And so it just simply did not fit, Judy, the condition we find ourselves in March of 2021, which is not the condition we found ourselves in March of 2020.
Senator, another piece of legislation, important piece of legislation heading toward the Senate has to do with election reform, with creating a national standard for voting. The advocates, people who are for this say it was necessitated by what state legislatures are doing to restrict voting in a way that would primarily affect voters of color. What is your, at this point, what is your view of this?
Well, it's another bill that passed with not a single Republican vote, and the reason for it is, even though it's styled as somewhat related to what they call voter suppression. What I read the states are doing is restoring some of the voting practices that existed before the pandemic. In other words, simply eliminating some of the emergency provisions that were there during the pandemic. This is an outrageous one-party takeover of the way we conduct elections in this country, and there will be overwhelming total Republican opposition to it in the Senate, just like there was in the House.
And Senator, just quickly, that raises the question of the Senate rule known as the filibuster. It's something that you changed the rule around in 2017 when it came to the Supreme Court confirmation for Neil Gorsuch. Democrats may try to do the same thing in the weeks and months to come.
A totally different issue. The Senate has two calendars, the executive calendar, nominations, the House is not in the personnel business, and the legislative calendar. The executive calendar, for most of the history of the country, was operated as a simple majority. Then the Democrats started filibustering nominations, which was never done before, and we did go back and forth on that over the last 20 years, but now we're back to where we were at the beginning of Bush 43's administration, the executive calendar done with a simple majority. That's not been the case for legislation. The legislative filibuster has been there for a very long time. Our Democratic friends in the minority last year used it frequently to stop things that we might have wanted to do. Now they're threatening to blow the place up and turn the Senate into the House so that they can get their way with presumably 50 Democrats voting yes and the vice president being in the chair. There is considerable reluctance on the other side to do that because people remember when they were in the minority. And what the Senate filibuster does is one of two things. Either really bad ideas don't pass at all, or you sit down and reach a bipartisan agreement. And that's why Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema have said under no circumstances will they participate in turning the Senate into the House.
Senator, one final quick question, and that is in our new poll with Marist and NPR, it turns out that Republican men and people who supported former President Trump remain the most against getting a COVID vaccine. What would be your message to them?
With regard to the vaccine, as soon as I was eligible, I took it. I've encouraged everybody in my state to take it. And this shouldn't be a partisan issue, either mask wearing or getting the vaccination. Getting the vaccination is important. I would encourage everyone to do that without exception. They're proven, safe, and necessary if we're going to get this pandemic in the rearview mirror.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Judy.